Welcome to Trump Wire, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. On August 12, 2025, the Canadian government stunned the world with a bold and unexpected move that sent ripples across the global economy. In a historic decision, Canada abruptly halted all nickel exports to the United States, immediately freezing shipments from its vast mining operations. The announcement, delivered from Ottawa in a tense press conference, sent shockwaves through financial markets and left the American electric vehicle industry scrambling for answers. Nickel is a critical component in the production of electric vehicle batteries, and Canada has long been the United States' largest and most reliable supplier, providing the raw materials that power the next generation of cars. As the news broke, stocks for major automakers like Ford, GM, and Tesla plummeted, with investors fearing supply chain disruptions and production delays that could last for months. Canadian officials called the export ban a necessary and measured response to new American trade policies, which they argue unfairly target Canadian industry and threaten the country's economic interests. This move marks one of the most significant and contentious trade disputes between the two neighbors in decades, straining a relationship that has long been defined by cooperation and mutual benefit. With billions of dollars in daily cross-border trade now at risk, the livelihoods of millions of workers on both sides of the border hang in the balance as factories slow production and uncertainty grows. The move signals a dramatic shift from decades of partnership to a new era of confrontation, with real and immediate consequences for businesses, workers, and consumers alike. Ottawa insists the ban is only temporary, but officials are adamant that the United States must reconsider its recently imposed tariffs on Canadian-made electric vehicles before any exports resume. The message from Canada is clear. If the U.S. chooses to restrict Canadian vehicles, then Canada will restrict the essential materials needed to build them, raising the stakes in this escalating trade conflict. With both sides digging in, the stage is set for a high-stakes showdown between two of the world's closest allies, a dispute that could reshape the future of North American trade and the global electric vehicle industry. The spark for this crisis was President Trump's announcement of a 25% tariff on Canadian electric vehicles. The administration claimed the move would protect American jobs from what it called unfairly subsidized Canadian imports. Trump's response to Canada's nickel embargo was swift and furious, vowing retaliation and accusing Canada of betraying American workers. The White House insists the tariff is about leveling the playing field, not punishment. Critics warn that tariffs and countermeasures will only hurt both economies, especially industries dependent on cross-border supply chains. Even U.S. automakers fear a trade war could backfire, raising costs and threatening jobs. The dispute is quickly escalating, with both sides digging in. Nickel is the unsung hero at the very core of the electric vehicle revolution, quietly powering the shift to cleaner transportation. While most people focus on flashy electric cars and their advanced features, few realize that nickel is what truly makes these vehicles possible. It's a key ingredient in high-performance lithium-ion batteries, enabling longer driving range, faster charging, and better overall performance. Nickel-rich batteries are essential for making EVs more affordable and practical for everyday drivers. As automakers race to deliver vehicles with greater range and efficiency, the demand for high-purity nickel has soared to unprecedented levels, driving up prices and competition worldwide. The U.S. relies heavily on Canadian nickel, especially the ultra-pure grade needed for advanced EV batteries. This cross-border partnership has been vital for North America's clean energy ambitions. Canadian mines supply essential raw materials to American battery plants and car factories, creating a seamless flow of resources that has fueled rapid EV growth. Until now, when that flow has been abruptly severed. Without reliable Canadian nickel, U.S. manufacturers are forced to look to riskier, more expensive global sources, often from countries with unstable supply chains or lower environmental standards. This shift means higher costs, increased supply chain chaos, and potential delays in meeting ambitious EV production targets, threatening the pace of the green transition. The disruption threatens not just automakers, but the entire North American green economy, putting climate goals and thousands of jobs at risk. The EV transition now faces a critical supply chain crisis, one that could determine the future of clean transportation in North America. For Canada, halting nickel exports was a calculated response to U.S. protectionism. The 25% tariff on Canadian EVs threatened a sector Canada has worked hard to build. The Prime Minister called the embargo a defense of fair trade, arguing that collaboration, not tariffs, should drive the green economy. Choosing nickel was strategic, targeting a U.S. vulnerability and maximizing pressure. This marks a shift from Canada's usual quiet diplomacy to a more assertive stance. Officials frame the ban as a stand for principle and partnership, not just profit. Canada's message: if the U.S. wants Canadian resources for its green future, it must allow Canadian products in. The move redefines the rules of engagement between the two allies. The nickel embargo has thrown U.S. automakers into crisis. Production lines are at risk, with battery gigafactories built around Canadian nickel now facing shortages. Without raw materials, assembly lines could halt, leading to plant shutdowns and worker furloughs. The United Auto Workers warned that a trade war helps no one and puts jobs in jeopardy. The embargo shatters confidence in the North American supply chain, forcing companies to rethink future investments. Automakers may now seek more expensive, less reliable sources, driving up vehicle costs. Nickel prices are surging, and the cost will likely be passed to consumers. Ironically, tariffs meant to protect American EVs could make them more expensive for everyone. Experts are split on the fallout, and the debate is intensifying as the crisis unfolds. Across newsrooms and boardrooms, analysts are weighing the potential consequences from every angle, and there's little consensus on what comes next. Some in the U.S. see the crisis as a wake-up call to boost domestic nickel production and reduce reliance on imports. They argue that this is a rare opportunity to invest in local mining, create new jobs, and secure the supply chain for critical industries like electric vehicles and defense. Others warn that building new mines takes years, and the auto industry will suffer in the meantime. They point out that shortages could drive up prices, slow down production, and put American manufacturing jobs at risk before any benefits from new mines are realized. Many economists call this a lose-lose scenario, with higher costs and lost jobs on both sides. They caution that the ripple effects could extend far beyond nickel, impacting related sectors and even global markets. In Canada, some hail the embargo as a bold move to assert leverage, while others fear it could damage Canada's reputation as a reliable supplier. The debate is fierce, with politicians and industry leaders divided over whether the long-term risks outweigh the short-term gains. There's growing concern that U.S. companies will now design Canadian resources out of future supply chains. Some fear this could permanently alter trade relationships, leading to lost contracts and diminished influence for Canadian exporters. Both sides agree. A prolonged dispute could cause lasting harm to the deeply integrated economies. The cross-border flow of goods, services, and jobs is at stake, and the uncertainty is already affecting business decisions. Calls for urgent negotiation are growing louder as stakeholders on both sides push for a resolution before the damage becomes irreversible. The world is watching, waiting to see if compromise can be reached. The big question: what happens next? Will the U.S. escalate with more tariffs, or will economic pain force both sides to negotiate? The crisis exposes the vulnerability of North America's integrated supply chains. A decoupling would mean higher costs and a less competitive region. The EV industry's future and climate goals hang in the balance. If the dispute drags on, EV production could slow, prices could rise, and the green transition could stall. The outcome will shape not just trade, but the future of the US-Canada alliance. The world is watching as two allies navigate a new era of resource nationalism and protectionism.